For any of my older viewers wondering what life is like for a 20-year-old or a young person in the modern day, I will say it's not as easy as many old people seem to think. Me, for example, I will admit there are quite a few things in the world at the minute that do concern me, right? And I don't think that's unreasonable. You look around and there are a lot of things for us young people, and for people as a whole, that are scary. I'm not saying it's a determining factor in my life, but it is true. Things out there are intense. You know, the potential for World War III, the inflation crisis that we're seeing at the minute, the cost of living crisis, the jobs shortage, even things like the migration crisis, right? There are definitely some genuine societal issues that are happening in our time. I do my best to draw attention to this here on the channel, but as an individual, as one person, there's not all too much I can really do about these things. By describing things that are of genuine concern though, I aim to prove a point. I know a lot of older people say that young people have got it super easy and they take all of these problems and they run with them. And that I agree with. At this point I'm trying to create a fair view from both sides, right? Young people think that old people don't understand their issues, and old people think that young people don't have any issues that are worth understanding. This is where the divide comes in. But from the perspective of a young person, I don't think it myself, but a lot of people that I genuinely even hold dear to myself, right, and the friends that I try and keep are friends, well, with the same ideologies and mindsets as myself, but a lot of the people that I know feel like, well, the way that life is going downhill. Not to quote an Andrew Tate, but the phrase failed society is one that I think sums it up very well. People see or think that we're in a failed society. Things like, you know, rubbish on the street. Or for example, I went out last night. Now, as I've already outlined many times, I do not drink. But the things that you see both from people that do drink and from people that are out at that time are terrible. You know, crimes and stuff that you just don't want to see, right? The sort of things that make you feel ill to your core. But the point is, right, this creates an image in the head of not all, but a lot of young people that, well, things are getting worse and time's done and society as we know it is over. And as I say, due to a lot of changes in the world, you would be, especially if you don't know many young people, but you'd be astonished at how many young people have, well, lost hope in everything that, say, our forefathers would have once believed in. And I do partially understand it, but let's discuss this. And as a 20-year-old myself, I want to talk about why I think the idea of the fact that society's crumbling just isn't true. The first thing that I want to make a note of is if you have any parents, grandparents, whatever, and you're young, speak to them about problems in their times, right? Obviously it depends on your country and what your personal beliefs are, but every generation has had its problems. And that goes back to the beginning of time, you know. It wasn't too long ago when people were worried about genuinely being in World War II and stuff like that. There's always been problems. There's also always been transitional periods. Things like the Industrial Revolution, for example, spring right to mind as a period where maybe a lot of people well, saw differences in the way things actually were going. I think what might make today a very interesting time is we're in a time of, I think, both, where we're seeing, you know, both the kind of a revolutionary time or a transitional time and a high problem time, whether that being due to underfunding or big corporatization or anything like that, right? The reason is a topic for a different video. You know, I couldn't disagree with anybody who says it. Things have changed. You know, even in my lifetime, right? I'm saying it from my view. I don't remember when I was a kid, people being stuck, well, everyone being stuck to their phone like they are now. And what's with these vapes, right? Everybody is on a vape. And then you see other alarming statistics like, well, the amount of people who do not get paid what they need to get paid, the amount of young people who just don't have any social skills. And you see these things in the world, it's like, yeah, these are real problems. And again, account with that the effects of AI and, well, social media as a whole. Things are interesting. Unfortunately, the light is not reflecting off that the way that it should be, because that looks amazing. It's a shame that you can't see it on camera. My point was, though, as a level-headed person, I will agree with anyone who says we have got very unique challenges to our generation. We've got things that no humans have seen in the past, or not that we know of. And that is already something interesting. But is that necessarily the worst thing in the world? And does it create to a false idea that the world's collapsing? Well, certain things have undoubtedly always been the case. But perhaps now, the fact that we see it on social media so much more creates an image where we think it's a lot stronger of a, you know, bad energy in the world than it actually is or ever was. You know, you have these entire shows on YouTube now where basically a load of guys sit around with a load of girls who say it's a good idea to cheat on their exes and whatnot, or their partners, I should say. And that's a whole show. That perpetuates the message more. People think it's more, well, more common than it ever is. Of course, we are in a unique time, a unique day and age, with a unique set of issues, concerns and problems. But that's nothing new. I just made a little video where I talked about how social media marketing works, and basically in terms of the stuff that comes up on your social media feeds, well, it's pushed to you for a reason. It's because it engages you. And this stuff is often the most shocking, the stuff that makes you think the most, basically. And of course a lot of that is going to be this content about stuff that makes you think, well, the world's terrible. Some might call it a benefit or a drawback, but the point is, as someone who goes into the world, well, I'm out in the world now, I go out as many days as I can, and I won't lie, you do see bad stuff, right? But bad stuff has always happened. On this walk today, well, this bike ride I should say, on this bike ride today, I'm walking now, what I've seen families having a walk down the river. I've seen, you know, fathers and daughters and fathers and sons fishing. I've seen couples holding hands and smiling to each other, and of course the beautiful nature. All of these things that apparently don't exist anymore, right? Deep down, the world isn't any worse than it ever was. I think it's a bit of a, well, marketing ploy really. And I don't know why it's being done. I think part of it is being perpetuated by social media, and well, people see a few of these problems themselves, and then they see their socials kind of reverberating that message, and they're inclined to believe it more. But no, not everybody's lazy. Yes, people are still authentic. Yes, you can still have a nice time with friends, family members. Yes, you can still go out into the world with your stuff and not worry about, well, violent crimes or bad stuff happening to you, right? I'm not going to say that there are not problemed areas of maybe the cities and of the world. Like I say, for me, whilst I don't mind it, right, I'm 6 foot and, well, I go to the gym quite a lot, so it doesn't necessarily worry me. But if I was worried about this sort of stuff, I probably wouldn't leave the house and go into the city centres on Friday and Saturday night. That's just me. But apart from that, it's a lot more calm than people try to portray. I don't really want to go into the stories right here, not because I can't or I feel bad about it. I just think it's not necessary to this topic. But I've seen and had real bad things happen to me over the years, right? So it is true. Very fast. It is true that bad stuff does happen, but it's not as much as people say. Again, crime has always been a thing, problems have always been a thing, and I guess social media shows crimes and problems from all over the world, and we start to then get that image in our head that, well, this is just what day-to-day life is like, and really it's not. So it's a two-parted story in my opinion, but I think part one is we have genuine bad things happen to us, then we get these kind of shown extra on social media. So we might have a certain set of beliefs about what sort of things are going wrong, and then we see certain things in real life that then show that, and then we see things on social media that prove that even more. It doesn't mean it's as true as we think, right? These things have always happened, but unlike our parents and previous family members, we now have the opportunity to look that up, look into it, and get stuck mentally in that minefield. So, as I just said, I do think it is a two-parted story. I think part one, like I say, is a social element, and then we have the real element. Like the society part, that's one thing. But then we have parts that may be based in truth, like economic difficulty, like the rise of AI, like the losses in jobs, like the fact that big companies do hold more wealth than ever. Let's address that part too. Now, unlike misconceptions to do with the way society is, which are a lot more subjective to, you know, the individual mind, it's plain as day for anybody to see the rich are getting richer, and that doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon. Jobs do, real terms, pay less. Houses cost an absolute fortune. And, well, I've just tried to get my car insurance for next year. After 1 year of driving, the insurance of the car costs more than the valuation of the car, which makes no sense to me. The point is, whilst I will not really agree with the fact that society as a whole is crumbling, I won't really get on side with that. The money thing is true, right? A lot of things about it, a lot of like some elements of it are factually provable, so I can't say otherwise to that. But yeah, again, it speaks to just like how in the Industrial Revolution, a lot of people either lost their jobs or got their entire careers repurposed or had to retrain as something else because of the way that things were. It could just be a similar thing now. You see, I have a Patreon page, and most of you guys will know this. The reason why I have a Patreon page is because I've learned a skill. The skill that I've learned is, well, selling stuff online amongst other different trends and trades. So let's say my eBay selling business, right, which is one of the things that I do. I sell stuff online. I don't make 100% profit from that, but in terms of revenue, I might make between £4,000 and £6,000 a month. And that's from the comfort of anywhere, right? I could be doing it on this bench as long as I've got a Wi-Fi connection and some sort of an internet connectable device. You can make that. And because of that, right, I can grow that business infinitely. I don't need to work a set amount of hours. It can make sales whilst I'm out. It can make sales whilst I'm not doing anything. And what I'm saying there is, this is not a plug for that, but it kind of is, you know, link in bio. But my point more so is, it's a different way of working, and many people haven't shifted over to this sort of work. You see, it's now the case that whilst it's harder to make something of yourself in a 9-to-5, opportunities like I just mentioned, making money on the internet, are, well, they're relative to when the internet came out, so they're a fairly new concept. And I see articles every single day of people making a fortune online. Again, if you do want to learn about eBay reselling, the link's down there, but for you, it might not be eBay reselling. It might be making, I don't know, books. It might be selling stickers. It might be something else, right? It might even be making YouTube videos like the one that you're watching before yourself now. What I'm saying is, we all work, or most of us still work in this way where we go to work, we exchange an amount of time, and we don't get paid fairly. It's true that big business controls more. It's true that it becomes more hard to own and earn things. But whilst I say that, and whilst it's not right, there are now different opportunities for social mobility that have never been the case in history. You can become a millionaire from bed. You know, in some cases, literally, the most simple things. You can make a fortune, right? So, I'm not going to disagree by saying that companies are holding more money than ever, because they are, and big businesses appears to be becoming more and more corrupt. That's just what I see, whether you guys agree or not. That's what I see, right? So I'm not going to disagree with anybody that says that. But what I am going to say is, isn't this another area in which, just like in the past, things have changed, right? Like I say, the example of the Industrial Revolution. We're now, or it could be, I think we are, in the technological revolution. And I personally think that we'd be silly not to account for that, right? New ways of working, new ways of socialising. I'm not saying that they're all good, right? I'd much rather go, and I have got lots of friends fortunately, but I'd much rather go, I don't know, for a walk in a park with a friend, or maybe go grab a coffee or something, than, I don't know, meet in some sort of a online friend group, or I'd much rather meet a girl in real life than be on Tinder. That's just me, and I don't like the way that it's going for a lot of people. But what I am saying though is, the markets in a lot of ways, and I don't just mean financially, I mean socially, I mean, well, in a lot of different ways, are changing to a new style. Whether that's right or wrong, and whilst that may look like society is failing, I don't think that's the truth. I think whether we're talking again about the social element, whether we're talking about the money element, we're still, because of how really new the internet is and how easy it is to access, we're still in a market where we have the first mover advantage. So if you want to make new friends, let's say, just for an example, whilst I would personally rather do that in real life, I can now, whether we're talking about making these videos or stuff like that, the people I've met in the comments and over on Patreon, stuff like that, I've met people who share my beliefs and my motivation to do things that I would have never had the ability to interact with in the real world. Again, businesses, I've learned business models myself, I've tried business models myself that wouldn't have been possible in the past, and again, today's climate comes with its benefits and its drawbacks. We have got problems and we have got issues and we have got factors that no generation in history has seen. But we're not the first generation that's lived like that. Every generation has had unforeseen issues. And you know what happened to most of them? Well, they got through it, right? We're all here. If you're watching this video, if you're under the age of 50, you were born from someone, so clearly people made it through the past for long enough for your lineage to meet where you are. And that can carry on. But I think naturally, especially as young people, maybe it's naivety and maybe it's lack of experience, maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's just the fact it is perpetuated so much online. There's this fear that things are done. And again, things are in some ways getting worse, I will not disagree. But in a lot of ways, whilst I might like the operation style a lot less, we're coming into a different time. All I can say is utilise that, look to the new experiences, stop trying to work in the old way, stop trying to perhaps, well no, I would say still socialise in the old way, right, but you know what I mean, try and meet new people in different ways, and certain things, like I say, crimes are true, I can't say they're not, but go out into the real world and get your own view of things. Like I say, I'm out, whether it's on the bike, whether it's in my local city centre, as many days a week as I can, and I see some bad things, I won't lie, but I see a lot of good things, right? Like I said before, I've seen a lot of good things just this afternoon / evening, and it's like that every day. Don't buy into the lie that the world is finished, don't buy into the lie that our society is finished and doomed. It isn't. We've got different issues, different problems and different factors that we've not had before, but we ain't done, right? We've got a lot more to do as a world, as people, as a country, and as individuals. The world is not in a terrible place. I mean, some parts of it are, some factors of it are, but just be aware of that fact, I would say. It's not a failed society, it's different trends and different technologies and the need to react differently. So stay on your toes. I don't see why you can't do well if you do that. I guess that's really it for this one, so well, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in our next one, but goodbye for now. See ya.